All right, why don't we go ahead and kick off? First off, I want to thank everyone for jumping on this presentation this afternoon, where we have the privilege of hearing from Nicole Alvino, founder and chief strategy officer of SocialChorus, around aligning to your North Star. Nicole, thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Great. Thanks for having me. And please feel free to ask questions as we go through. So as founders, we have the incredible opportunity to continue to rally the troops, our employees, our customers, our perception in the market. And I think of one of our main roles as that chief evangelist. And I've seen the importance of really laddering up to that North Star. So I want to talk about a framework and give some specific examples of what we've done at SocialChorus. But first, a bit about me. I started my career at Enron. All my bosses went to jail. True story. 2 of the 3 people who wrote my letters of recommendation to business school were convicted. So let's just say I saw firsthand what not to do as a leader and to really understand the importance of authentic, transparent communications from leaders. That's been the foundation of what we do at SocialChorus, what I'll get into in a minute. A second piece about me is I love learning. I love traveling. I've been to over 60 countries. This is one of my Maasai warrior friends. And again, I think that as founders, that connection to our team, to our customers, is so incredibly important as we think about moving our businesses forward. I work for the future. I have 3 young boys, and everything that I do is really focused on the impact that I can have as a leader, as a founder, when I think about them and even their children. So a clear North Star. So for those of you who are early on in your founder journey or later on, I think it's critically important to have that North Star, know exactly what you're doing and the why, and then get everybody else to rally behind you. So at SocialChorus, ours is reach every worker. When we founded the company over a decade ago, we saw a big opportunity in this space. One, to reach every worker, there's only 5% of IT spend goes to the deskless worker. So a huge gap. 80% of the workforce is deskless, only 5% of IT spend. So a huge opportunity there from a market standpoint, as well as just the opportunity and the realization that every worker is important, regardless of pay grade, type of work, location of work. It doesn't matter. Every worker deserves to have access to the information, the resources, the news that they need to make them feel connected and supported by their company. So this has always been our North Star. Also important to have a large market. Our market recently was sized by Microsoft as $300 billion. So we play in the employee experience market. As you're looking at aligning to your North Star, also important to have a big market, a big ocean to swim in. When we think about what we're building and how we want to deliver the impact from our companies, I've always kept a couple key SaaS metrics at the forefront of everything that I've built. So the top level, hitting that magical 100 million in ARR, obviously you don't do that out of the gate. First, you've got to get to the million. Then the 10 million is a huge milestone. Super excited to say that we're in spitting distance now of this 100 million of ARR. 50% annual growth or more. That's obviously a key metric to show that your solution is continuing to provide impact to customers. Satisfied customers is obviously key. We hold the 115% net churn as our metric for success there. Serve the global enterprise in order to get to a place where you are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of ARR. You have to have that global footprint and beyond selling only to other startups. And the other piece that's critically important is a category winning solution. So if you look back historically at all of SaaS companies and exits, the top 1 and 2 players take 80% of the economics in the entire space. So it's so important to be that category winning solution. So if we keep those at the forefront, these are some of our customers at SocialChorus. So really, really proud to have 20% of the Fortune 500 and 10 of the Fortune 50 who leverage our solution. And I do think that one of the key reasons why we've been able to win these customers and continue to serve them, just looking, J.Crew, Ford, Hilton, Boeing, Dow have all been customers for over 5 years. Whirlpool, Providence, Abbott, actually a lot of these have. It's focusing on that North Star. These customers as well believe in reaching every worker and know that their current tools and systems are unable to make that happen. So as a founder, as that chief evangelist, definitely the work that we all do externally, and then internally, really ensuring that all functions are marching together in service of that North Star. So when I think about the life cycle, everything from go-to-market, from what is on your website, what you're talking to analysts about, what your SDRs are saying outbound, how that translates to what your sellers are selling, the pain point that they're positioning, how does that respond to what the product does and the KPIs that product is working toward, and then ultimately, how does that drive customer success? Not only what your customer success team is delivering and help to support, but ensuring that the customer is also aligned with that North Star and looking at that type of success. How do you say no to non-priorities, especially to stakeholders like investors? Great question. I think it's the opportunity to continue to align to the market opportunity of the North Star and all of the pieces to make that happen. I always say data will set you free. I actually just got off the phone with one of our big customers, helping them use data to elevate to their key stakeholders. So in this case, it's the other members of the C-suite, and they actually do report up to the board level. So I've always found that framework with data that showcases that you have this strategy and this alignment will help that conversation. Starting at the top, and this is a framework that we used at SocialChorus, starting with kind of that problem statement. This statement should be something that lives for a decade plus. So our problem statement when we started the company is still the same today. It's maybe become more acute. Your core value prop has to answer to that problem statement. The product strategy has to support that core value prop to answer the problem statement. Product KPIs must support that. I've seen product KPIs that all might be great product KPIs, but aren't necessarily in support of that core value prop and problem statement. So I think that's something that's especially important if you're still in that finding product market fit or figuring out which parts of your product or solution are really the ones that will serve the majority of your customers. And then, of course, customer success. First, that sales is selling to the problem statement and the core value prop, and then customer success is empowered and aligned with helping to support that core value prop and problem statement, which are in the North Star. So I thought what I'd do is take you through the SocialChorus framework in this, just to give you an example of what we've done and hopefully bring that to light as you think about doing this in your own organization. So for us, our problem statement is organizations struggle to connect every worker with the right information at the right time in the right place without the necessary insights to understand what is required to drive the right actions. So a lot of words, and we don't necessarily expect every account-facing person to know this word for word, but if you step back and say, let's look at the entirety of the enterprise who has this problem. you can probably say that they all do, especially in a post-COVID reality. I will say that COVID was a market accelerant for us, just underscoring the importance of reaching every worker, and really elevated this problem to a CEO problem. So anytime you can have your product, your company answer a CEO problem, the much better position you'll be in. So core or problem statement, and then what is the core value prop to solve this particular problem? And then how are you uniquely positioned in the market to solve the problem versus a variety of other solutions that potentially could solve the problem? So for the SocialChorus core value prop, we are the workforce communication backbone that orchestrates the digital employee experience for every worker, automates communication workflow to drive alignment and action, and delivers enterprise-wide insights from every interaction. So when we looked back at the core problem statement that companies cannot reach every worker, and then you drill down with the information that they need wherever they are to offer a real consumer grade experience, like what we're used to getting in our consumer world, we are uniquely positioned to be that workforce communication backbone and really focus on the communications piece of the equation. Another piece, when we were founding the company, really looked at the members of the C-suite and also noticed that the chief communication officer was really the last member of the C-suite without their own tools and without their own metrics. And if you look at where marketing was 15 or 20 years ago, before we had the Marketos and the Pardots, we saw the communications function analogous to that and really ripe for disruption. So that's our unique position in the market in order to reach every worker and also to provide the insights that come with that opportunity. So these are words. We don't use these slides when we're talking externally per se, but it is something that continues to ground the entirety of the executive team as well as everyone on our team. What we do talk about externally, and again, whether you're trying to sell something that's more inspirational, aspirational, or a pain, we do start with reaching every worker. And that is something that is an opportunity, an aspiration, especially when you think of from equity and inclusion and bringing all members of a workforce into give them access to what they need. And the opportunity for a CEO, for any member of leadership to drive action and outcomes from the foundation of reaching every worker. We also talk about the pain of managing through a business transformation. So during COVID, our customers, MGM and Hyatt and Hilton and J. Crew and PVH and Burlington Stores and Boeing and Ford and Dow, and all of them had to transform their business, maybe in smaller ways, maybe in bigger ways. But at the end of the day, unless they got important information and communications to their people to help their people understand what they need to do and how they need to change and transform, nothing would happen. So we really went from this aspiration of reaching everybody to the crucial and critical business imperative of reaching every worker in order to drive the business change and transformation required to win in this environment. Layer that on with the data and intelligence that we can collect from our platform to deliver true insights to leaders. Things to be able to correlate what we're seeing from engagement across our communications backbone with things like sales performance. So an early indicator of, is my sales team in EMEA not going to hit their number? Am I going to have a safety issue in my factory in Brazil? So the opportunity for those sorts of things. And these pain points, again, ladder up to that North Star. And when any of our salespeople are in the field, they make sure to connect that dot. Also important is to connect anything that you're putting in front of analysts, prospects, customers is also aligned. So this is our lovely architecture, our platform architecture. If you don't have one of these or in the process of making one, I would highly recommend it. It took us a while to get everything in the platform on one page, but it's really important to be able to articulate the core value and the different components of your product in order for both to see how it fits in the ecosystem, especially when a CIO is a part of your buying committee, as it was. There's a question around who's responsible for that alignment product marketing. I honestly think that the alignment in the messaging and what sales is enabled to do really does need to start from product, and even before that, the company strategy. And so that alignment, where does it start and end, but it can't only be a product marketing, because then I think you sometimes could miss a step. We've put some processes in place to make sure that we continue to, in order for product marketing to be the most effective in coming up with the architecture. So product marketing definitely owns the architecture and owns the messaging that we'll go to market with, making sure that there's that alignment from product leadership and ultimately from the strategic standpoint. Then from that product architecture, this is where the product strategy really comes in and making sure that that's laddering up. So for us, we've got 3 core pillars. We talk about anywhere, automation, and intelligence. So anywhere goes back to that 100% reach. In order to reach every worker, we have to meet them where they are, whether that's a mobile app, which we have won awards for our mobile app, whether that's in a desktop experience, whether that's inside of Teams or Salesforce or an SAP container. Our point of view is it doesn't matter. We want to power those engaging experiences to reach every single worker wherever they are. So the anywhere is always something that product is looking at. And we've also organized our product domains around these pillars. Automation is really about creating that impact from any information or communication that runs through the platform. So doing some really interesting thing, leveraging best practices from marketing automation with campaign logic, delivery, automation across a variety of different digital channels to really ensure that we're delivering impact and action from any information we've got to get to our workforce. And then intelligence is really about the data and insights that we're getting. How are we elevating these to be data that a CEO actually cares about? So we continue to innovate. Our platform and our roadmap is broken out into these pillars. So again, there's that alignment throughout. Then when we look at the platform KPIs and how those ladder up, we've found it helpful to look at personas and personas that both fall into the problem statement and the core value prop. So we're looking at a worker persona and a communicator persona. The worker personas that reach every worker, every single worker. That's the goal. We won't stop until every worker at every one of our customers can be reached with what they need. And the communicator is both professional communicators as well as leaders. Can leaders be effective in what they're trying to deliver to align their workforce? So when we look at the KPIs for these personas, the high-level KPIs, worker reachable. Do we have access to every single person at all of the companies we serve? Amazon is our largest customer. They're in the millions. So can we actually reach all of those millions? Yes. Hilton is another one with about 500,000 employees globally. So do we have a way to reach them from the platform? And then who are we actually reaching? So maybe we can have the capacity to reach the millions, but you go down that funnel, how many are we actually reaching? And then the next level is their activity rate. What are they actually doing? Always making sure that we're tracking those metrics as the key product KPIs. On the communicator or the leader standpoint, who is using our either the admin console or the admin functionality on the mobile app or our desktop experience to send messages to their team. So Burlington has thousands of store managers who are using this to communicate to their team, which was incredibly important, obviously, all throughout COVID and continues to be. So how many people are actually taking advantage of this functionality? How often are they coming in and doing that? And then how effective are they to drive the outcome from whatever information they're flowing through? So making sure that those KPIs, of course, are tracked over time. Trend lines, we want to be going up. This is how kinds of things we report up to our board. Obviously, in a day-to-day, we're looking at daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly across all of these things, looking for anomalies, digging in, and then obviously looking across our customer base. And again, we talk to our customers about these KPIs as it relates to them to make sure that we're all in that alignment. Okay. You also want whatever analytics your platform produces to match those KPIs. So you don't want a mismatch between what product is looking at and how they're viewing success to what you're showing your customers and how they're viewing success of using your product. So it took us a few iterations, I have to say, to get to this place. This is really hard. But once you get to that alignment, it's incredibly powerful. And then you take your data and you also are looking at how are we using this to help our customers through their journey. So you'll remember this is our platform architecture slide. Our customer success folks actually use this to help their customers understand, one, how to fully leverage the platform and think about what's possible in the context of helping them get to that 100% reach and reach every worker. So this is something that we say, are you fully using the power of our orchestration engine, which is our admin console? This particular client has an opportunity to leverage some of that marketing automation functionality. So our CSM has a plan of how to enable them. There are also additional use cases. They're using it for critical comms, employee recognition, tracking to some business priorities. There's still an opportunity to power a modern intranet and take advantage of some manager comms. So again, this is just a way to bring the platform architecture full circle and also help to guide our customers. So we're in lockstep from what marketing is putting out, what we're even saying to Gartner and Forrester, and then how we're thinking about our customer-facing folks. Cannot emphasize the importance of mobilizing your people and everybody who works for you. This is how you get to that alignment. Every person needs to be in lockstep, from your marketing folks, your SDRs, your sellers, everybody in product, from engineers to QA to product managers, and obviously everyone in success and support. And what I've found really powerful is if you have a mission that people can really get behind, that helps the alignment. So I do a founders quarterly welcome. So all of our new hires, every quarter, I do a presentation around our history and our culture, where we've been, where we're going. And I always end with things I ask of them. And the first thing I say, which is so critical, is believe in our mission. So for us is believe in that we need to reach every worker, and that is a business imperative. And it's something that we can all feel really, really good about what we're doing. Another thing I tell our team is they've got to understand our POV and our position in the market. And again, things like that product, the platform architecture, messaging will help the customer-facing folks be able to deliver your elevator pitch. So whether you're a QA, somebody in QA, or our top seller, an elevator pitch that is something a grandmother or a 5-year-old can understand. That's always what I'm telling our people. Know our product inside and out. I think it's critically important in SaaS for every single person to understand the product, be able to use it, and more importantly, be able to talk about its value. And then I say, know your team's priorities, how they drive our mission, how they ladder up to that North Star, and how success is measured. And I think that's a good way to help all leaders continue to drive that alignment. So I think when you do these things, and definitely have your people all aligned to that North Star, and something that customers are also aligned to that North Star, you just have a really amazing opportunity to succeed together. We succeed together is one of our core values, and it's something that in SaaS, we as companies are never successful unless our customers are. And so it really is about finding that alignment, creating that North Star that your customers and all of your people can get behind, and then lining up the key players in your organization with KPIs to really measure and inspire. So that's all I have. But again, a huge opportunity as founders and as our chief evangelists to ensure that we remain aligned to our North Star. Any other questions?
First off, thank you so much for a really fantastic presentation. If folks do have questions, please drop them into the chat field. In the meantime, though, I had a question around continuing to drive alignment for this North Star in a time of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that this was a inflection point for your business with your customers, and I can very easily see how this would become increasingly important with large workforces in a time of pretty rapid change. But I'm curious what extra steps you took at SocialChorus to maintain alignment to that North Star internally, and whether you had to take steps as potentially your workforce went remote, or as people had to even just navigate their own lives and their own personally changing circumstances.
Yeah. No, great question. And I think I'll answer that in two parts. Kind of what did we do to support our team during a challenging time? And all of that, we were a distributed company before, so we knew how to use Zoom and had some things set up, but we started doing the Zoom happy hours and the connections and those pieces. Something that we implemented for over a year ago was SocialChorus distancing days. So one day a month that was off for all of our employees to just take as a personal day. Because we saw an influx, our folks were working really around the clock. And I personally know how important it is to have that mental space. So that's something that we instituted and still going strong this year. So tomorrow is actually a distancing day. And then on the customer side and seeking that alignment, we just have so many incredible stories about the importance of reaching the workers. And Ford, for example, they transform some of their factory lines to making PPE, and being able to share those stories from our platform and having all of our people really feel like we're empowering Ford to deliver that just makes the connection to our North Star of reaching every worker so critically important. And just continuing to tell those stories internally and share them really helped us create that connection.
That's fantastic. Well, I know that we are just at the top of the hour right now, and this is actually our last presentation for the Empower Conference. But I wanted to thank you, Nicole, so much for joining us today and sharing what you've learned in the course of building a great business that helps other companies achieve their North Star and achieving that internally yourself. Unless there are any other questions, also I'm a little nervous that the session is going to abruptly end on us as we run out of time. But if there are any other questions, please drop them into the chat. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining the Empower Conference today.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank y'all.